So you will, two things that are important. What you'll want to do is you will want to, if you don't want noises and, you know, cats yowling and other things going, and you just bring your arrow down and you can mute it. See?
Great service without all the fight.
your headphones on.
I apologize for the background noise. I have something going on around my house, so I'm trying to stay muted. But if you have not seen my message, please make sure that your name is listed as who you are in attendance. The person who signed in on just phone, can you please identify yourself so I can put your name down for attendance?
Yeah, this is Eric Canal with CNS Engineers. I'm on video also, but I'm tied in by phone so that you don't have to listen to my 3 background noise causing people.
Perfect, thank you. And we should be let into the meeting very shortly. Some of us are obviously attending by Zoom. Then there are a group that are in the boardroom. They should be signing us in momentarily.
Oh, look, the attorneys. Oh, thank you. Start video. So, Miranda, did Jenny get to you about the home occupation? Okay. You're the picture. Okay. So did we get the application? Okay. I'm going to see if we can't pull up the. Thank you. So we're gonna do this first, once we get everybody. This is the easiest way. I think I just saw an email that said Bill's not going to be here.
I didn't know how many people were coming.
Oh, you get a seat at the table here. I got so Bill's gonna call in, okay. So got the town code, so we need to get down to zoning, okay.
I should note too that we did make a final, more formal version for the town application.
Okay.
At the time when Casey came in, it was our first time having just recently separated from the village, so. we had no other app- Yeah,
It's fine.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi, this is Bill Myers.
Eric. Okay. So Mike, Eric, kind of a couple of phone calls. Jenny, you're on board?
I am. I apologize for the background noise. I'll try to keep muted, but I am here and ready to go.
Bill Myers is also on the phone.
Okay. One that was in the OneDrive for the project that's on Route 11. Okay, we got, whoops, I'm sorry.
this is different than just the one that's showing. Like by the old driving, or is that this one? That is another one. I made that mistake.
About 11.
There are two Route 11
Okay.
projects that are very close to each other. And so when I first heard that we're gonna discuss the Route 11 solar, I was looking at the old drive-in, which is actually gonna be a village project.
Okay. And I know that there's a community, kind of like an open house informational thing on Rich Road. Where's Rich Road?
Rich Road is nearby, it's off of Old Route 11.
That's the, that's the big project.
That are being discussed at least.
Were you at the meeting the first time they presented, like 2
Probably.
years ago? Or they're 2 years out yet from this.
Okay.
So, okay, do we have enough here? 1, 2, 3, yeah, we got enough. Okay, Bill, you're on the phone?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. We're going to call the meeting to order. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of the January meeting, which was our last meeting. Did everybody read the minutes? Any corrections?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, so the first order of business tonight, because this should be quick, is an application for a, just trying to look up the code. Eric, maybe you can help us quickly. This is an application for a young lady who's going to do private softball lessons in her barn. Does that even fall under home occupation?
Mike, I really, It's going to be close. Let me take a peek at it. I didn't realize that was going to be a question on the agenda tonight.
It was an add-on this afternoon. We can treat it as a home occ and do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'm gonna leave you for a minute and look at the code here.
The last house in there.
Yeah, that'd be out in the rural. Let me- Let me find rural or home occupations, residential. Home occupations by special permit. So a special permit is going to require a public hearing.
Okay. This isn't gonna be in your pole barn?
It could be. I usually just put them outside
Okay.
in my yard.
Alright.
It's very, you see like one
Let me get
for the
that.
day for
Okay.
piano lessons.
Home occupation requires, it's a special permit, which is a public hearing. So if we're crowding that line, we could hold that public hearing tonight and have it next month, depending on how. Private softball lessons in the barn. I don't know. It's close, I guess. No sign, one employee,
Just one kid, 1-to-1.
one kid. You got residential, but that's actually rural zone. We'll go with your call, Eric.
Mike, I think, if it's close, you got to do the public hearing.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so this is Casey. 472 Judson Street Road. Project location is at the same location, and she wants to have a home business for private softball lessons in a rural zone. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's very similar to the same setup as if someone was taking a piano lesson. It's just a 1-to-1. I work with girls around the area on softball pitching. You can do it in my yard, or if it's bad weather, we can just go in the garage and then go there an hour long and just work with one kid at a time, one a day, if that.
Okay. We will be having, I assume, regular meetings over the summer, so we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting. We can make it official anyway.
Okay.
It's a public hearing, which is going to take about as long as this just did.
Okay.
So we don't have a meeting date yet set. So, can we proceed through the meeting and see how the rest of it goes and then let you know when the public hearing is? So can we just table that until at the end of the meeting? What's that?
When the next meeting.
Yeah, we should know by the end of this meeting, we'll know who the players are for the other solar project and,
And I can email it to you before I leave. too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would just be something just like this again.
Yeah, but the public will be invited.
Oh, okay.
If anybody shows up.
Okay. That sounds good.
I'm sure not. I think you'll be good.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If it's in your pole barn,
Mhm.
right, is there access for fire?
Yes. We have a man door and a garage door, like a non-electric. So,
For the next meeting when we approve it, can you just bring in pictures and show us what your barn looks like? So,
yeah,
Kids
do you
can
want it
get it.
now?
No.
I was gonna say I have it right on my phone.
no. right
Okay,
now.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Like
we-
printed pictures or just on my phone? It's
Your
fine.
phone,
Okay,
whatever
okay,
you're comfortable with.
okay. So you guys will reach out and let me know the next one. Sounds
Yeah, we'll set a date by the end of the meeting and then Miranda will reach out to you.
good. Sounds good. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So why don't we do, this is a preview and a preview only of the solar project out on Route 11, which is going to be, if you look at the maps, it will abut the cemetery out there and then go back from that. So let's see, who's going to speak for CNS?
We have Eric Knaw from CNS.
Hi, Eric.
Doing, guys.
Why don't you
Mike,
just give us a run through of your project? Jenny, they may want to share their screen.
Yeah, I can do that. Mike, if you want to just give a quick overview on TJA and the
Sure.
project in general.
Yes, we appreciate you adding us to the agenda tonight. I work for TJA Clean Energy. My name is Mike Ferteski, and we are based out of New Bedford, Massachusetts, but I'm actually out of our Syracuse, New York office. I handle all our New York projects. We are primarily solar farm developers, and that's what we're proposing to you tonight. This is a community solar farm, and I think you're familiar with the concept behind community solar, so I won't dive into it too much. But essentially, we're going to create a facility that injects power back into the grid. We meter it, and then we give those metered credits to subscribers to the system for a discounted electric rate. And those subscribers would start from a local vicinity to the project and work out within the actual utility load zone of the project. So that's just a brief overview, and I've got Eric Knaw from CNS, who's our consulting engineer, and he can dive into the details of the project.
Okay, let me share my screen here and see. Can everybody see that screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So if this is US Route 11, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the area. Here's the cemetery that Mike mentioned here. The site will be back here in the northeastern part, so well back from the road and the entrance to the property out here. The array is this area here where you see the racking for the solar racks. And the fence runs around here. We're avoiding this wetland area here. There's a stream running through the parcel here. There's an existing culvert here. And we're proposing to bring a 16-foot gravel access road skirting around the back side here and across into this field. There'll be 2 equipment pads where the inverters and some of the equipment that converts all the DC power to AC and sends it out to the grid. There'll be 1 down here, 1 here. We'll have turnarounds at each, so emergency vehicles can get in, turn around, and get out of the facility. This is a 5 megawatt AC facility. The pole line for the interconnection will be out here at the entrance. This will be, National Grid's equipment to a certain point, and then it becomes the customer equipment on one of the poles. The red areas you see here are screened wetlands that our people looked at to look for core and DEC wetlands. There are no DEC wetlands on the property. These are all Army Corps wetlands. If it's an Army Corps wetland in an open farm field like this or an open area that's not wooded, it's called an emergent wetland. And the Army Corps does not consider this type of rack installation disturbance. It's a pile-driven installation, so they're not digging anything up. They're not putting concrete foundations down or anything like that. So this does not meet the Corps definition of disturbance, and therefore there's no permit required for this action here within these wetland areas. On this next page, we also have the pink areas are steep sloped areas. These are areas that are above tolerance for the racking, typically over 15%. And we've got those shown as well. So you can see we're trying to keep the array in the central area, the flatter area in the field where it's open now, and make use of this area. This is just a view without the background on it, so it's easier to see some of the features. The array you can see is running north-south. This type of system is a tracking rack system. So I don't know how much, if the board's familiar, has seen, there's 2 types of systems. One system is a fixed tilt where the racks would run east to west, but face due south and be at an angle and not move. This system, the racks set up north to south, and basically the panels lay on the rack and they go back and forth and tilt and follow the sun as it comes up east to west. So they'll point east in the morning, follow it across the sky. They'll go from about 60 degrees tilt each way. And then at rest, they're laying flat. We have a figure here that shows the soil types. The green is considered statewide importance, soils of statewide statewide importance. The blue here is prime farmland by USDA standards. And the yellow, which is the majority of the site, is prime if drained. So you can see where this is within the array. these are just some of the details for the racking systems, the concrete pads, the access road. We have, I'll go back to the main site plan. We have submitted an EAF with the application. We've submitted an ag data statement and a map to go with that that shows the limits of the ag district and the neighbors within 500 feet who are also in the ag district. Based on the review of the state databases and the EAF mapper, there are no state listed species of concern, endangered or rare on the property. We consulted with U.S. Fish and Wildlife's IPAC system. There are no federally protected or endangered species of concern on the property. We will, even though we don't need a permit from the Army Corps, we'll obtain documentation from them that they have no jurisdiction. We always do that just to make sure they agree with our assessment of the property. We will file with State Historic Preservation Office. We will prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan to be submitted to the DEC because we're disturbing over an acre of land. So that'll all be done and put together. The parcel is zoned rural commercial under your code. And from our understanding of your solar law, the process for us is a site plan review and special use permit from the planning board because we're considered a major facility. And I would assume then that the planning board would be the lead agency for the secret review process. And, you know, that's kind of the gist of the facility. It takes up about 24 acres. The fenced area is approximately 24 acres of land on the parcel. So if anybody has any questions for Mike or I, we'd be happy to take them from there.
Even the proximity
If I could
to
add just
11, when those, when they tilt east to west, any glare issues coming?
No, we can,
coming
I mean, we
out
can
of-
provide, no, we can provide a glare analysis, but, you know, we would normally check access, you know, public thoroughfares and things like that and neighbors. But, you know, for one thing, they lay flat during the day, right? So the sun comes off at the angle it hits. So when they're laying flat, if the sun hits this way, it's directing it back up in the other direction. And as they tilt, if you think in the morning, say it's tilted, you know, kind of 60 degrees, well, the sun's kind of fairly low in the morning too. So if it's hitting here, it actually tends to direct it down to the ground. So we have software available to run that if you like, and we can show that. But the other part of this too to remember is these are coated with anti-glare. They're dark colored. The intent of this is to collect the energy, not reflect it, right? These aren't mirrors. If we're reflecting all the sunlight, it's not doing us any good. Another thing in these particular systems, they use what are referred to as bifacial panels, which means they'll actually collect on the backside. So essentially the sunlight hits the panel, it collects as much energy as it can, it passes through the panel. And then particularly up here in our climate, right, you guys have snow a good chunk of the year. It can reflect off the snow, and the underside of the panel, the backside, will actually collect it again as it comes back off the snow to increase production. So there really is no issue with glare. I mean, they put these things on airports and stuff, but we certainly can provide a glare analysis and check, you know, we would check receptors along the public right away here. And if there's any neighboring homes or something over here, we could run that and provide that to you.
Okay. Any questions from the board? I do have a question. I guess more of a comment. All of those things that you mentioned that you're going to seek in addition to what you provided us already, we will need before we send it off to the consultant.
Okay.
And then once the consultant has looked at the project and the town's soon-to-be new solar attorney has reviewed the project, then we'll begin the application process in earnest. Are you aware of the town's requirement of 1% down?
1% for escrow,
Right.
and that's 1% of construction value.
1% of the projected construction value, correct, Eric?
Yeah, that's correct, Mike.
Okay. We weren't aware of that, but that's no problem. So the 1% would cover us through the duration of site plan approval, special use permit, and seeker review, and then that would also cover code inspections during construction.
Correct. And once we're done with that, we don't foresee burning through all of that money. the consultants, the attorney, and the code officer's fees, you know, then you'll get the balance back after.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
So all of this is contingent on the town clerk receiving that fee. We don't start to do anything until the money's in her hands. The additional information like from the Army Corps that you talked about, any additional information that you, everything that you talked about tonight needs to be probably in that OneDrive folder so we can get that to the consultant, let them start working on it. They are working on another solar project for us, but they're aware of this one's coming up, so I'm sure they can start looking at it fairly soon.
Would we be able to get a copy or an email just of the request for the escrow, just for our records, and gives us a place to send the payment?
Yes, I can. Eric, do you know if the town put anything formally in place yet?
Mike, there's, the requirements right in the town law. Michael, we can work out a direct billing and escrow arrangement with the town supervisor.
Okay, perfect. All right, I wanted to make one other comment too, just on the site plan. Since we're in the agricultural district, we'll be filing a notice of intent, a short form notice of intent with Department of Ag and Markets. So they'll also be notified of the project. That'll be happening in a short time frame.
Okay. What's that?
Do they have a copy of our local law?
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they can find it. Yeah, it's
Yes.
on the website. You do have our local law, right?
You have our
Yeah, I
local
think
law.
I actually have it right here. Yeah.
When you revise your documents and your decommissioning plan, would you also include all the specifications according to our local law? It's for,
Yes.
4 is decommissioning is 4B, all the way through on page 8 and 9. A lot of the requirements according to our law were not in your decommissioning plan. Thank you.
Okay.
And I wondered if we needed approval from the Division of Cemeteries because it's contiguous to the archival cemetery. I don't know if you need it or not.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Would it be visible from the cemetery or is it gonna be hidden?
I don't know.
It's going to be, the project is adjacent to the cemetery. If you drive up there, you can see it very plain. The access road is coming up what's called Bridge Street. Drive up to where the old house used to be. That's not there any longer. Drive past there where the cemetery is. I believe their access road is coming on the Canton side of the cemetery and then going right around behind it. And then the project where the solar panels are some distance away from the cemetery line, even though the project
Right.
boundary line is abuts the cemetery. I'm guessing no, but it's something we could look into, I guess.
Or landscaping? something like that?
Yeah.
And the State Historic Preservation Office probably will consider that as well as part of their review. So.
Yeah.
Can you draft a letter to the Division of Cemeteries and ask that question? Eric? Maybe some chat or
You
Michael.
can, are you like a state division of cemeteries, are you talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For your reference, the town owns that cemetery. I don't know if they need to know that, but they do.
Oh, I thought in the report.
Well, the town by default got all the cemeteries.
Yeah, but I think it's.
Yeah, maybe, but it's still a town cemetery.
Yeah, we can
Probably
look into that,
federal.
but my guess is the SHPO Historic Preservation Office will take that into consideration and we'll be aware of that presence also.
I think it'd be best just to
Yeah.
run it by them.
I don't know if it's even active anymore.
Probably isn't. Like the cemetery at the end of our road.
Yeah.
Hasn't been used in 100 years.
Right. Any questions from the board members?
My big thing was the decommissioning.
Yeah, in the decommissioning plan, when you look at the code, you'll also note that there is a couple of different methods to ensure the town that the money will be there. There'll need to be one of those methods.
Yeah, we're used to that, either through bond or
Yeah.
or some type. Yeah.
Are they considering livestock grazing at all for this? Looks like it might be kind of wet, but
Within the project area. Are you considering any livestock grazing at all, or just traditional mowing?
So we consider livestock grazing on all of our projects. It all comes down to the long-term owner operator and the financer of the project. If the numbers work, which livestock grazing is coming way down in cost, then it will be employed on this, but it's a consideration for our financiers.
I assume you will have a local maintenance person, keep the road plowed. If you don't do livestock
And
grazing.
mowing, yep.
Mow once a summer or twice a summer.
In your
Yeah, so,
in your plan for maintenance,
sorry, I missed
you don't
that.
have frequency of mowing or snow removal or any of that information in there.
Were you able to hear her?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll update it to include frequency, but frequency, we typically do a slow growth local pollinator for the vegetation. We'll mow it most of the time twice a summer, twice a season, sometimes 3 times. And then as far as snow plowing, it's really, it's only done in case of emergency. The first 6 poles are going to be owned by National Grid. And if there's ever an issue, they'll require us to have snow removed off of that. But I'll update the operation and maintenance plan to include frequency.
Well, I would think for emergency services, you would want to plow anytime there was any significant snow, so the fire trucks could get in there.
What we've been told, and we can
Because-
consider that too.
I'm with the
What we've
fire
been told
department.
is-
If we can't get in, we'll let it burn on you.
Yeah, on the facility like this, we've got remote reclosers at the first pole. And what they do is National Grid will shut that down as soon as they hear of a fire. So
Okay.
everything from the pole line up out will be shut down. And then internally speaking, if there's a panel on fire, it's just gonna stay with that panel. If it's a transformer, it'll be contained within the oil containment pad. But it's a consideration that we can put forth on the O&M plan.
It wouldn't be typical of us to bring a fire truck into the middle of that field anyway, but
That's what other departments have kind of told us, is that their intent would be to make sure it didn't leave the fence line and not worry about the stuff inside.
and I think you said at the beginning and in the plans, this all goes to the grid. There's no storage here.
That's correct. No battery storage.
I'm just curious, this has nothing to do with whether it's good or bad, but why they put the fence up with the big holes at the bottom and the small holes at the top?
What's that now?
Yeah, the reason for that, we
Yeah.
flipped the egg fence, and the reason for that is to let small, squirrels, mice, snakes, rabbits, things like that pass through the facility still.
Okay.
So that it will keep people out, but it doesn't prevent that type of wildlife from still using the meadow and the type of low growth grasses that Mike's talking about.
It was upside down.
Given the location of this project, I don't think there's really much need for buffer screening, anything like that. It's not, there's no house there next door anymore. It's Curtis's field, I presume, on the other side of your project.
There's no.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is wide open field.
Is it-
Yeah, and the railroad
On the
track
west
kind of
side,
cut us
too.
off and set us way back from the highway.
Right
too.
in front of this is the state right away, kind of like right across from Route 11 truck there where they pull the trucks in all the time.
Mhm.
Any other questions? some of the information that you discussed obtaining, do you think you could have that within a month's time? We would probably be looking at meeting the week of the 19th or the week of the 26th, somewhere in there.
We could have it submitted most likely. We could look at that. Unfortunately, we have no control over when the U.S. Army Corps respond.
Right.
And things of that nature, but the SWIP, if we get the survey and stuff, we can get the SWIP done and get the NOI filed on that.
Well, anything you can get, just you can put it in that OneDrive folder. We will have you grant access to the consultant when the time comes.
Okay.
Just let them pick everything from there. There will be, at that point in time, they will communicate directly with you rather than try to go through this board or through Eric and slow things down. So we've learned quite a bit from our first project that some of the things to do and what not to do. And we quickly learned that letting the consultant and the developer talk directly saves a lot of time. So by the time we get to our next meeting, a lot of the questions are answered.
At what point, I know you need the escrow, but at what point would the board or the town be comfortable at least beginning the seeker process by filing to by sending out the letters to establish lead agency?
The consultant will look at your seeker and make sure everything is okay with it, address any concerns with you, address any concerns with us. Once they sign off on how it looks, we actually have to go through the seeker and approve it. And we've determined that we would be the lead agency, I think, on any of these cases. So that process would start once the developer or the consultant signs off and tells us that they're satisfied with what's in there. So the quicker they get their hands on it, the quicker you get all the information to them, the quicker we can start the actual process.
All right.
I'm guessing we're a couple months out from that happening. Would be my guess for a timeline. Depending on what kind of information you've developed between now and a July meeting, you may or may not choose to appear at that meeting. If you have nothing new, then you may not want to come. If you have something to share with us, we could update. We'll be in contact with the consultant. I'll reach out to both Mike and Eric, and I'll include the Barton and LaJudas contact in there so you guys can get started on sharing the OneDrive information.
Okay. Is there a typical consultant at Barton and LaJudas that you work with?
We are using John Contino, Eric, I think is his name.
Okay.
Like, that's right, John Condino.
I'll include him in the email that I send to you and introduce you to each other that way.
Okay.
Excellent.
And if
Thank
they
you.
can get started on what you have in there now, all the better.
Okay. Yep.
All right, we're pretty comfortable with this layout. We're excited that it's tucked into the corner of the property like it is. As a board, you're comfortable with us pursuing this layout? No notable changes that you could see just off first glance?
Nothing jumps out at me. Any of the rest of you see anything that? It's probably in the best location you could find for one of these projects. I mean, I doubt you'll even see it from Route 11.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
I mean, the prime farmland issue, Ag and Markets will weigh in on that. You're aware of our policy about, you can't take any of the prime soil off the property.
Yes. Yep.
when you're going to be disturbing a little bit when you put your pads in, but it's fairly, the invasiveness is fairly minimal here.
Right, yeah, there won't be any need to remove any from site.
And the decommissioning plan will show you putting it back where it was in the end.
Restoring it, yeah, and they'll be restoring, in accordance with Ag and Markets guidelines for that too.
All right.
Anybody have anything? We'll dig deeper into this. We've all had a chance to look at it a little bit before the meeting. Appreciate the hard copies. It's sometimes a lot easier to sit with this on your lap than a computer and look at it and read it. And, so we'll.
All right, thank you.
We'll let you guys know when we're meeting in July. The board will just pick a date here afterwards, and if you have any new information, you could certainly share it then.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, one more question.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Your interconnect cables, are they above ground or below ground?
Those are above
Was it the
ground.
interconnection
Yes.
point?
Are they above or below ground?
Yes. So our interconnection to National Grid will be above ground. We'll have 6 above ground poles, and then once it becomes customer owned, it'll be underground for the remainder.
From the poles to the grid, it'll be to your grid, it'll be underground.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Wait a
I
minute.
just want to say, according to the New York State Department of Ag and Markets, the guidelines for agricultural mitigation for solar energy projects, it says electric internet cables and transmission lines installed above ground can create long-term interference with mechanized farming on agricultural land. As a result, interconnect cables should be buried in agricultural fields wherever practical.
I believe the cables coming from the solar panels to that first pole will be underground, correct?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the solar facility itself, and then if you remember the act, yeah, thanks, Eric. Along
Right,
the
so the
access
pole-
road.
Right here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Eric.
If you're
Okay,
using them
those-
above ground, they have to be outside the field boundaries, if possible.
Yeah, so those poles will be hugged against our access road, and they'll be within the easement of the solar facility. So they'll be tight against our boundary. They have to be. They'll be within the easement. So
Can you include that
And then-
in your revisions?
That will be also, but some of that will be Grid's decision where those poles go to.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, as your code probably reads, and a lot of codes reads, and as the guidelines read, it's to the extent practical, right? Like what they don't
Right.
want to see is us cutting across this field with a pole line and us using pole lines to get back and forth between things, right? So
Right.
these poles out here hold the equipment that National Grid owns, where they need their cutouts and reclosers and things like that to be able to
That-
set the system up correctly, and then we go
Correct me
underground from there.
correct me if I'm wrong, but that area where the poles are going to be is approximately where the old house sat. That's not farmland anyway, is it?
Yeah, I don't think I think the farm field is back in this area more,
Yeah.
right? Like back here behind the old house, right?
Correct.
the other piece to that too, if it provides any comfort, that's an ag and market guideline, and they'll have direct review of these plans too. So for whatever reason, if they think that this is too intrusive, they'll come back and they'll give us comments on it.
In this process will, because of this proximity to Route 11, will appear before the full county planning board for their
Right,
comments also.
239M review. Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it won't be an office review. It'll be a full review.
Mhm.
Yep.
Where those lines are.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Good. Gentlemen, thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We'll see you in a month.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you know. Okay, Our next order of business is, and I can pull it up if you need me to, is the battery energy storage law. I don't have a hard copy in front of me, but I slogged through it when they sent it, so I can pull it up if you need. I think this, if you remember the timeline of this energy storage law, it started with the town assigning the planning board. Planning board met with the county planning board, Bob and Jim Smith, myself, Matilda. Crafted this law. It went to Eric after that. He put his touches on it. And we got it back at some point, but you saw it. The final version this week, the town plans to have it on their agenda for the July meeting, so to pass this. They have a moratorium presently. There's no upcoming projects that require storage in the near future. I think the big project on the Rich Road may require storage, but that's a couple years out.
I think what their conditions are pretty easy for us to incorporate.
Yeah, I think it was something that we.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, to include tier 1 and not just tier 2, the non-dedicated.
When we first started down the solar path, we didn't anticipate a project big enough for storage. Quickly became apparent that that was going to be an issue. So the town put a moratorium on. It's been in place for quite some time now. We got this going, like everybody else, we'll blame it on COVID that kept us so long. So the town is just looking for our blessing. To be formal, we'll do it in a form of a motion to send it to the town for.
Mike, I think the reason that it was back in front of you was the county planning board had recommended some changes to it.
Hang on, let me find that email.
They wanted to change the definition between the smaller and the larger projects, the ones that required full planning board review and the ones that didn't, was my understanding.
I can read it if you like.
What's that?
I can just read it.
Okay, sure.
I'll make a motion
Yeah, we're gonna incorporate the changes?
and incorporate the change.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for approval of the battery energy storage system law with the revisions suggested by the county planning board, May 14, 2021. One being the fire suppression system should be installed with all tier 1 and tier 2 systems that are located in dedicated use buildings. Number 2 on page 5 for permitting requirements at the last sentence to the tier 1 paragraph. Tier 1 systems in a dedicated use building shall be permitted in commercial and rural zoning districts, subject to the uniform code and special use permit application requirements set forth in this section. Page 6, under site plan application, add language that includes tier 1, not just tier 2. Add language for a tier 2 battery energy storage system or a tier 1 system in a dedicated use building. On page 10, for all the paragraphs that we just stated tier 2, add tier 1. And on page 10, special use permit standards regarding the noise. We had the noise shall not exceed a noise level of 60 dBA as measured at the outside wall and or the property line. I recommend that we delete the outside wall and or. And that's the end. That's the end of the revisions.
Okay, I read those when I was on vacation, and I actually consulted with the fire chief on the one issue which he agreed with. Erica, if we pass these motions with the additions from the county planning board, you can incorporate it in for the town at their meeting?
Well, what'll have to happen is we'll have to amend the statute and then set a public hearing on the amended statute.
Okay, yep.
Assuming the town board wants to do that.
Motion's been made.
Motion's been made, seconded?
Is it,
Oops.
I'm sorry, Mike, just out of curiosity, is the board comfortable with the change definition of the different types that require full planning board approval?
Yeah, because I think they should all come here. They're going to be tier 1, tier 2 is going to be a big enough project. I mean, we're still not looking at the home roof mounted systems. Those are excluded from all of this. But a tier 2 or a tier 1 is going to be big enough. I think we should have eyes on it.
Well, what they were doing is they're, instead of taking it based on the size, the generation capacity of the storage, they're saying, hey, we want to change. We want you to look at a full planning board, even if it's a small system, if it's self-contained.
What by small, what I guess the definition of small is the tricky point here.
Tier 1 battery system has the capacity less than 600 kilowatts per hour.
Would we not be looking at the solar? Would we be looking at a project that required that kind of storage anyway?
Well, so what they're saying is that we don't care how small the project is. They want you guys to do a full review of it if it's going to be in a self-contained building. Right? So, this may force even a relatively modest project to be coming in front of you for full planning board approval, like a larger project, just by virtue of the fact that it's self-contained, that it's in a building by itself.
But this is just the storage part, correct?
Just the storage.
Right. Right. I think the storage should be considered part of the larger project itself. And I would agree that it should come to us. The storage part is, I think, part and parcel of the energy producing part of the project.
Well, you have some small home size systems, I think, is the idea behind the way the statute's currently drafted, right? And that those modest systems, they can be handled by code enforcement. They don't need, the planning board to do a full site plan review.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but do we need a size cutoff? I mean, what would a typical home be?
Well, that's what you currently have, right? And what the county is asking that you do is that you say, okay, not only are we going to make a decision based on the size of the unit, the storage capacity of the unit, but also by virtue of the fact that it's in its own, self-contained building, right? So they're saying anytime that happens, even if the building is otherwise authorized under the code, right, they want you to review it.
Right.
And the question is, you really think that's necessary?
No, not for a home system. If somebody chooses to put their batteries in a separate building, I think that's something that certainly Miranda could handle to the code.
Yeah.
So what's the language that needs to happen to escape that?
Well, so, I mean, what the language that they've suggested is all, with the exception of the fire suppression, which, again, I think under the Uniform Building Code, fire suppression in those types of units is required anyhow, but be that as it may, the whole bit of their language was designed so that any size system is coming to you.
Just the county's comments.
This is the whole packet.
So I think what I understand what you're driving at, Eric. I think what we want to do probably is, given that the building code and before Miranda issues a permit, they're going to have the fire suppression system in there, that I'm not sure that we want to pass anything that the county planning board has put in front of us. I certainly don't want to hold a meeting for somebody who's putting a 10 by 10 shed up to hold a half dozen batteries and running their home.
Right?
Okay, based on what Eric just said, how comfortable are you with rejecting the county planning boards?
I think we should go with the county.
Okay,
And if it becomes overwhelming, Justin, we can reassess it.
we'd have to change the code though.
Mhm.
Well, we can't do that.
But we're leaving out the homeowner though. I thought that was one of our
We can-
intentions.
We can amend, yeah, I don't think in there it has homeowners, it's talks about tier 1 and tier 2 systems. I don't think homeowners, I think that we've excluded that in our definition.
Because most homeowner situations would have storage.
Hold on, let me just look at it.
Homeowner is
I'm pretty
opposed to
sure
commercial.
that we said in the first couple of pages that it wasn't home. Yeah.
Somewhere and you'll find some language that we did. But
I thought we had it.
that's also in the solar code. If we're going to exempt them in the solar code, then we certainly want to exempt them in the energy storage code.
Right.
Because we don't want
And
them to
maybe
come
I'm
here.
getting that confused between the two.
Yeah, we don't want them to
Maybe
come
we
here
can
for one and not the other.
Maybe we can just add that mention as also envisioned.
Yeah, but we were talking about commercial versus.
Yeah, these systems shall be subject to the uniform code and are exempt from planning board review. On page 6, it's number 6 on here. I think it's page 5. Page 5, we should really paginate this too. Tier 1 battery energy storage systems. Included, these systems shall be subject to uniform code and are exempt from planning
See, these,
board
yeah,
review.
this is talking about for principal use on the property, which would be a homeowner, a very small business.
Right. I think
Yeah, we had
it may be
discussed,
here.
yeah.
I think it may be here. Alright.
Yeah, but I
For
think we already have it in our
It's right here,
code.
it's number 6. It says battery energy storage system shall be permitted as an accessory use in all zoning districts
Right,
when
but-
they are enclosed in a building and are not used to store energy and are used to store energy for principal use on the property. They do not require. planning
Right, the
board review.
county planning board is suggesting that it does come here, contrary to what our law says. But I think that's the point Eric is trying to make, and that I think we want to avoid this.
So that was
Number 6.
the page, number 6.
Wait a minute, let's go back here and look at.
Because when these
Tier
things, if somebody is doing a project like this, it's going to require a building permit from the code officer. She's going to walk them through the uniform code. They're probably going to know it anyway, but if they're going to do a project like that, but so the county is suggesting that we see those type of projects, which would be contrary to our solar law, because we don't need to see those projects in the solar law. We would be having them come just for the energy storage part.
Well, then I think it just needs to be revised under a definition.
In which I would reject the county planning boards and then amend before the I don't know what needs to be amended. I think we spelled it out pretty clear in our code or proposed code.
I think these batteries can be pretty, energy storage systems can be potentially hazardous.
Well, it can be, yeah, but if it's an energy storage system to be consumed on site, by definition, it's going to be small. a home,
Not like
a
there would be
business.
No oversight, there would still be a permit process with plans and specification sheets and an inspection.
The uniform electric code would come in, the building code, the electric code would come into play.
Yeah, Mike, those are all specifically incorporated into the battery storage law.
Right. Okay, you've heard our attorney's suggestion.
Mike, it's one of those things that if the board has concerns that if it's in a separate building, then the county's comments are appropriate. But what the work you had done before and the work the town board had done, specifically Bob and Jim, you set a definition of, hey, it's 600 kilowatt hours and below, it's the uniform codes and the code enforcement can handle a system of that size, right?
Well, we specifically targeted those so they would not have to be burdened by coming to us.
Exactly, right? And now the county is saying, well, we think some smaller systems should come in front of this board. And I guess the question is, is that what you really want?
Well, this is the same county planning board that passed our solar law that says these projects don't have to come as a solar park. We don't need to see a homeowner solar, right?
Right.
So
And we don't need to really see that.
no, we don't want to. That's why we specifically excluded it in our solar law and in our energy storage law, so that we were not creating an undue burden, not on us, but on the homeowner or the business owner.
So I don't know how this goes. Yeah. Because the motion's been made and seconded.
You would have to withdraw your motion and withdraw the second.
Can we just amend the motion?
What's that?
Can we just amend?
Because everything else
stands.
I don't know that you want to keep any of it.
Okay. Oh, you don't.
I wouldn't.
Fire suppression on it?
It's in the code anyway. I mean, they're going to have it in order
It's in
for
the
more.
battery storage code?
It's in the uniform building code. I mean, we would just be duplicating
So
what's
you're saying
already
this is
out
under-
there. Miranda's not gonna give them a building permit if they don't have that in their plans. But a project that size is not gonna have to have fire suppression though. A small homeowner.
No.
Well, except to the extent required by the
By
fire
the code, right,
building
right.
code.
Yep.
Right, all of which are incorporated into your local battery storage law.
Right, and how they construct that building is going to be part of the code.
I'm not really totally comfortable rejecting what the county has to say. hear what
I
you're
think,
saying,
yeah, I think,
but I'm not really comfortable with that. So we can just let the motion die and not have it, put it out.
well,
to
it's been
vote.
seconded, so.
And put it out to vote. If it dies, then somebody else can add a different motion.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass all the recommendations by the county planning board. All in favor? Opposed? We got to vote.
I'm
Vote.
Give me hands. Opposed?
So what are we doing now again? Between this?
We're voting on Deb's motion to pass all the recommendations by the county planning board.
I'm opposed.
And this includes,
This would include the
the
homeowner.
homeowner
Right.
under our gauge,
How we vote.
which I thought we weren't gonna do that.
Right.
We didn't.
That's the point.
So then I can't go for that.
Okay.
Okay. Opposed. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Motion
So the motion
is
fails.
denied.
Someone else can make
Okay,
that.
now keep in mind that the recommendation from the county planning board has to pass by a supermajority. So we now need a motion to reject.
Need that parts of it, or do we want
do we want to reject all of it?
My recommendation is we reject it all.
Oh, because
Yeah, it's redundant and it's also contrary to our solar code.
Okay. So then we have to make a motion. So I make a motion that we reject the recommendations made by the county planning board for changes and additions to our battery storage system law.
Okay. Jenny, did you hear that? Okay. Second?
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. Second, okay. We have a second? Okay, all in favor? Just give me hands, so, okay. And Bill, okay, all opposed? Okay, the motion carries with a majority,
Mike,
necessary majority, yes.
who seconded? I couldn't hear them.
Betsy,
Betsy, thank you.
Mike, just because I can't see the hands, how many were for and how many were against? You're muted.
was 4-1.
Great.
Okay. That's out, thank you. Eric, yeah, I think we're done. I was gonna just bring the board up to speed on solar consultant attorney that's gonna help out.
Great, great.
I don't even know who it is.
Bill Buchanan, I think is his name. Mike, I had a nice conversation with him. He seems like a knowledgeable and a decent guy, so I'll leave you to it. And if you need anything else from me, let me know.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Yep, take care.
So going forward, we'll have the Barton and Judas, the new attorney in the town, I believe, is voting next week to appoint them. So we'll have their eyes on the projects, starting with this project. So a lot of the legal questions that, I think Eric was just simply overwhelmed with time. It wasn't so much the knowledge. It's
And what's the name of the consultant?
Barton and LaJudas is the consulting company that the town has contracted. I don't know the name of Bill is the attorney. I don't know the name of his firm.
So there's 2 town attorneys now?
No, the other attorney is just solar
Just solar.
projects, yeah.
And they're local? Is it
Case by,
local?
I don't think they're local. I don't think there's any local attorneys specializing in solar
Okay.
that I know of anyway. I think that, I know, the Barton and LaJudas has worked with this firm before, and I think they're a national company, or they're certainly a statewide company. So that's going to help us out a lot. I think if we, they'll have eyes on this project, they'll be able to look at the OneDrive folder and see all the information
He's gonna be the consultant on all of these projects?
on the solars, yep. Providing that him and the town come to terms, which I think is just a formality at the next town meeting.
We'll get to the
I know. It's coming out of the escrow anyway. So.
Seems like there's a lot of them in the works.
So just so we're on the same page, when this contingency, this 1% pays for the consultant?
The attorney.
Pays, okay, and the consultant is the engineer?
Yes, yeah. I suspect that probably the town will charge Miranda's time for reviewing the projects against that 1%. So on a project that we're going to get, say 90,000 from, I can't imagine we would spend 40. I think that'd be a lot.
Just to clarify, is the consultant an engineer or an attorney?
The consultant is an engineering firm.
Okay.
Engineering, environmental.
Got it. I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then the attorney specializes in the, did they follow our code, right?
You know where at Ag and Markets they review, like which department at Ag and Markets?
Which Department of Ag and Markets
Yeah.
review? I don't know.
No, that's great.
I just review Ag and Markets as God, and I didn't know they had departments.
Yeah, well, they have things like license. I don't know what this called. Or what kind of people they have reviewing or how they decide. Well, see what I can find out.
So I give you an update on the Mead Road project, but I don't have one. I haven't heard from anybody. I
think the
I-
consultant and the attorneys have time to-
Oh, that part is,
Access
that
road.
part is all done. We're waiting on the developer.
Give us an update on
The
the
access road has never been, the right of way has never been fully determined. So the last I knew, they were in negotiations with a neighboring landowner to get access from a different direction. That's the last I've heard. The Eric was never able to determine clear right of way for anybody on that road. You know, I don't think he was comfortable saying that Jim and Pam had clear right of way. I don't think he was totally uncomfortable saying the developer had right of way. It may be there somewhere, but you know, if you dig back into some of the old records, county records, gets muddled fast.
Too bad.
So everybody is waiting on them to seal the deal on the right of way, and then we go forward with that project. Look at,
The consultant is gonna look
yeah, they have.
at it. And what
Yeah.
did they say?
That I've not heard back from them. Yeah, we're waiting for the right of way to get established, and then we'll get their final report.
What about the environmental?
They've looked at that. That'll come back to us. We have the
We haven't got it back.
We haven't got it back, no. They have been communicating back and forth still.
That's crazy.
I get copied on the emails, which drives me nuts because I
Yeah,
don't
that is-
really need to see any of it until they're done. So some of the secret questions, the developer was delayed in getting the answers to Barton and LaJudas. I think everything is pretty much in place now as far as that goes, but we have, Barton and LaJudas is waiting for that piece of the puzzle before they give us a final report, an assessment, and then we, will be lead agency. We'll do this full seeker. We'll review the full seeker. It should be long and boring, but it should be right by the time it comes to us. So it's on the developer to do the seeker, and they present it to us, and it was on us to review the seeker to make sure they did it right. But we're just a bunch of volunteers, so we pass this off to an engineering firm that knows this stuff and make sure it's right. And so we do a lot of short forms, so we've never done a long form since I've been on this board, and I don't think I'd want to do one without help, for sure.
Thank you.
Miranda, what's new? A lot of houses coming up in the town. What's going on? One out on the Finnegan Road now?
Definitely a challenging time to start a new job. Great, as everything is in full swing. But I am surprised, especially with how expensive building materials are, how that's not deterring.
There's
people
three
from
houses
building.
with, there's three houses within a mile on 310.
It is a lot. Yeah, it really.
They are,
It is now,
finally.
but for a while, the first month and a half or so, I was getting plans and filling out permits daily. One of my first requests was a massive dry erase board, and I filled that up.
Wow.
So it didn't end up being as useful as I hoped it would be.
We have a note from the town supervisor thanking us for our services.
Oh, she did.
I'll pass it around so you can all read it. Do you have anything we need to be aware of coming up?
At the moment, no, there's nothing that I can think of.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We said, Jim, you got anything?
I think I'm good. You kind of covered what I was looking for.
All right. Wayne and Ellie?
Or anything.
Yeah. Wayne, Ellie, you good? Oh, it says they're there.
Yep, we're good. We're
Okay.
good.
All right, okay. Yeah, we'll, I'm hoping for next month. I don't know. No idea. Kind of like to get this off our plate. Okay.
Mike, about are we going to set a meeting for next month for the public hearing for the
Yes.
the woman who wants to do the softball lessons?
Yep, we'll do that right now. So we can, anything from, the 12th is out for me. Anything from the 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th, 20, 21, the next week. We typically meet on Tuesdays, but we meet when we can. So look at your calendar, what's your pleasure?
I'm flexible.
Oh, well, I can't give you my calendar. Your stuff's not on it. 15th to Thursday.
Or the 20th to Tuesday.
13th or 15th, well, for me, the end of July is really packed already. I've got a wedding in the family.
Okay. How about the 13th?
The 13th is the town board meeting.
Never mind that. Tell the town to move. They already moved their meeting once.
Yeah.
All right, 13th is out. How about the 20th?
How about the
27th. How about the 27th? Everybody good?
What day is that?
County, that
Tuesday.
We have a bus trip planned. I don't know what day it's gonna fall on, but
I'm going to 27th. I'm just off.
Okay. We probably have Zoom capabilities for a couple of meetings left for anybody that can't make it. So because it's a public hearing, need a motion. Okay. We have a motion on the floor to have a public hearing on the 27th to review or to vote on the home application project for softball from Casey Rabaugh.
And who made that motion?
Deb,
Thank you.
second. Second by John. All in favor? The public hearing will be at 6:30, by the way. All in favor? Aye, passed. Okay. So, okay, everybody here knows when the meeting is next. You're gonna let Casey know, Miranda? And I'll let the other guys know. That might give them time to have something out there.
6:30?
6:30.
What date again?
27th.
27th. July 27th.
Yep.
I don't care. I don't care. to come.
Okay.
Mike, do I also have to send a notice to the abutters, or was it?
I believe you do.
Okay.
Judson Street Road, it'll only be the neighboring thanks, Jim. Only be the neighboring properties within 500 feet. So
I'll
probably on each side of her, or across the road if there's anybody there.
Technically.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to bring to the board?
No.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it now?
I'm gonna head out.
No, go. Thanks, Jim.
Good night.
No.
So I went to the Association of Town Meetings in February, and I wrote down a few of my notes, and hopefully it makes sense. But one of the really interesting presentations was on understanding the flying the seeker. And I know people are kind of new at that, and we really haven't done a full seeker before. So what I'll do is I will give you the link to this document. Oh, great. No, it wasn't a webinar, but I'll give you the PowerPoint. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. I had access to it for maybe a month or so, but I don't think I have access to those virtual meetings anymore. But it's in,
Okay, that would be good.
the PowerPoint that I found online was from 2017, and I compared it to this one that he did in 2021. The only difference was the last 2 pages where he went over different, the 2019 seeker updates that include the type 2 list. And one of them, of course, is solar projects, and that's what we're talking about, having to do with some of these large scale solar projects. So, do you know anything at all about seekers, when they're done or why they're done? You do?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
You do?
Take that from
Okay.
the end of the meeting.
All right. So part 1 is done by the applicant, like we've already had done by the applicant for the solar project, and part 2 is usually done by us, lead agency. The chairman can do part 2, but we need to approve it. And then part 3 is done by all of us. We have to make the decision what type of impact it has on the environment. And then we need to include all of our supporting documents for that seeker review. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. And then the timeline is also in here, when the seeker needs to be done, when it needs to be started and finished. So
Typically, on these 2 projects, we've seen the seeker well underway before we see the project,
And that's
because
what
they
it
need to
said.
know if it's viable before they even get it to us.
that's what they said at the meeting. That one was done by the applicant. One was done. Another interesting seminar I went to was on the zombie property law. And I'm only going to talk about the town. And I don't know that we have this, but there is a for any vacant and an abandoned residential property. You know, we have lots of those out in the town. I know I have one close to my house. And they're unsafe, or if they pose a health hazard, they can be removed by the town. And first you want to build whoever owns it, if the owner is known, but if not, then the town can take.
The zombie law is administered by the town board though, correct? Not by the planning board,
Yeah, but
through the code office.
He said that they suggested that we adopt a town law to remove any unsafe building or collapse.
I think Messina did a zombie law.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can make a recommendation to the town board that we do this,
Yeah.
because I think it's really would be important. I just think of the abandoned house I'm close to my street, and there's a whole family of little kids like right across the street, you know, we could easily get hurt by it. And I guess if the applicant isn't available, we can't pay for it, then the county has to pay for the demolition of the building. I'm sure the fire department would love to burn some vacant.
We can't.
No.
Can't burn anything anymore.
Really?
No.
Did you say the county?
I'd love to, but we can't.
Lots of hazardous stuff.
Yeah.
Roofing.
So the
Carpeting.
county reimburses the town, there's a law.
County
RPTL
puts it on.
930.
Yeah. County puts it on the taxes, even though they'll probably never collect them.
They can do unpaid delinquent taxes and maintenance of the property for any unsafe stuff. So there's a payment system already in place by law.
Well, there's also, so prior to that, I have a process too. But if no one shows up to court and we can't find them, I think that's when the zombie law would be more useful.
Maybe.
Because there are a few properties now that I've issued orders to remedy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of them.
Bill to somebody to have it removed, why would they pay it?
Right.
Then some of them surprise you. Then all of a sudden, there's a car in front of them.
And you can find them up to $500. I suppose you could take legal action against them. for
So if they don't
non-compliance.
pay, what happens to the property?
Goes to the
Up for
county.
auction.
County put it on their auction.
But if it's unsafe, then if the structure,
I mean, say the county took the structure down, it's got the property, or does the homeowner still get
the
the property?
homeowner wouldn't have it.
How much of an issue is this really?
Property down
How
there.
much of an issue is,
I know there's 2 right around me.
I know, but that's in your judgment.
I don't know how big the issue is.
What is
I have
this?
no
Is this
idea how
Something
big
that
the
people
issue
talk
is.
about?
It was a big deal in Messina. I remember reading it was in the village, and in this case, not in the town.
It's a big deal in Watertown too.
Yeah.
But is it a big deal in?
Well, Amanda, or I'm
don't know.
gonna call you Amanda for the rest of you.
Is it becomes an issue when someone, and then when someone is sued, that's when you have to go through and reevaluate everything.
But you've issued 2 already. In
I
addition,
have one,
One.
one that I've issued for a property on.
The other one that I went to was on use variance, because use variances are always hard to approve. And they said that you really have to show the dollars and cents for monetary proof that the applicant can't use the property as it was intended. Which is really hard to do. And I know when I was on ZBA, I don't remember maybe one use variance that we approved, but they're really hard to satisfy all the criteria. And then this guy talked about the porcelain art in the Potsdam. Which I thought was really interesting, right?
I have a T-shirt. The Potsdam's got toilet on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen them. Where'd you get it?
Like, oh, we got it from somebody around here who does them.
Cool.
Porcelain art.
It is, yeah, porcelain art in Potsdam, and if you wanted to know, he said his toilets were an artistic expression and of political speech, and the town violated his First Amendment rights. In 2018, the town adopted this junk storage law and prohibited the toilets, and he took them to court, and the court decided the toilets are protected speech, and the act of displaying them is a protected expression. The toilets were transferred and incorporated into a design of multiple parts and casually visible to the public as art. The town failed the criteria of intermediate scrutiny. And he's suing the town.
I thought they already
for millions.
No, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He already won.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, so they settled.
They did.
They
Yeah,
settled.
yeah.
And no, a non-disclosed.
Yeah.
Non-disclosed. I know, well, I don't know.
It'll get out sooner or later.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And Schumer talked, and I'm just gonna talk briefly about what Schumer said. He talked about land use in post-COVID era, and we should increase the availability of granny flats because 40% of COVID deaths were in nursing home. And that River Ledge is just closing,
Yes.
right? So we might be seeing that trend to more home-based care.
We,
elderly.
do you know where the process is with the consultant for the town comprehensive plan, which is going to include some code changes? So if there's anything that we want, that will be the time, but I suspect that's a ways down the road.
I have not heard of this. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
So
And
we talked about that, a
Yeah,
couple
we
years
did.
ago
We
now.
did talk about granny
Um,
flats. And I don't know.
Almost thinking we approved it.
I think we did.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we said, was little tiny house kind of.
Yeah.
I think we
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Also home-based businesses. He said we should really ease our restrictions on home-based businesses.
I
Like,
don't think we
for
have
example,
I don't
the
think we have
softball
much.
lessons, but more and more people now are working at home during COVID.
Right.
And it's working out well. Those performance standards are showing it's positive. So we may see more of a trend to home-based businesses and stuff. And maybe we should look at easing our restrictions. The overall goal, he said, is to stay compatible with residential use. For example, online grocery stores. A lot of people now get their groceries and they order them online. They don't even go in the grocery store.
Instacart,
So
yeah.
you can see we're an online grocery store. We do quite well, even if there's no pandemic. And he talked about retail businesses going out of business. And then you've got these large shopping centers or large, buildings where the store front was, and what to do with those. And he said some towns are converting them into apartments. That's all I really wrote down about my two-day association. of
Well,
towns.
I think that last thing is a pretty good point, that this probably didn't need to go,
Probably did.
type of thing probably doesn't need to go to
Yeah.
reach this level.
Like music lessons in the home, too,
Yeah.
right?
Um,
But it's also hairdressers. Hairdressers do their business in their home. Similar to that, it's just a different service.
It pushed up against the line tight enough that we might as well do it the right way.
I have one more thing.
Before you do that, you're going to send us that PowerPoint?
I'll send you that.
The new one.
one. I'll send you the link to it.
Oh, good.
Okay, because I found it online before I came. It's 2017, it just doesn't include the 2019 updates, but I can take a picture of that if you want.
Okay, great.
Did you all see it in North Country Now where it says Town of Canton resident voices concern about hydronic boilers? Did you see that from Brian Washburn?
I did. He also was at town meeting.
So, and it said in the newspaper article that we would look at the regulations pertaining to the use of these boilers at our town planning board meeting, our town, at our meeting.
So what kind of boilers?
Yeah, what kind of boilers?
Outdoor wood
Town
boilers.
board, I guess.
Outdoor wood
Oh,
boilers.
wood boilers.
So when I looked up hydronic boilers, one of them is a wood burning boiler system. And I think that's what he's referring to. He
Yeah,
says he
in his
has
case.
two that are in his neighborhood and he's mostly concerned during the springtime and, late
About the
fall
smoke?
when
What happens?
when the
when
windows are open, it's the
Well, I
pollution.
used to get it in my neighborhood, in my bedroom. But it's,
So I thought, well, is
For
this
the
guy,
windows,
is
right,
this
right.
guy for real? And I know Brian, Brian is really sharp and I used to work with him. So he knows his stuff. And I found out from the United States EPA that they are an issue. They do have quite a bit of pollutants in them. And maybe
Catalytic converters or anything like that.
maybe it's something that we should look at because in our zoning laws, we don't really have anything definite about boiler system. I couldn't find anything. I know
There's
this-
nothing in our law. They are regulated by the DEC, by the EPA, and by building code.
I believe his concern is that neighboring communities do have
They
regulations.
do. And I saw online on my little internet search that underneath the US EPA site, there is a model rule, and even the state of Vermont has rules pertaining to boilers. And there's quite a few states that do, but New York doesn't. So maybe it is something, but they recommend that we have setback requirements for the property, the structure, and the home. That we have stack height requirements, and we have distributor buyer notification requirements.
That's not in code now.
Some of that is part of
For
the,
certain accessory structures, there is, but a lot of these are already in the rural zone, so you're already far away anyway. So where he is, his neighbors are quite far away, and he's claiming he's still
that's
getting
a
the
different thing with burning a stove in your house.
I don't.
But your wood burning stove in your house has a catalytic converter.
so did sometimes. Not a lot of them.
And the outdoor.
Most of the new boilers are all high efficient, low emission. I personally, if you regulate that, you got to regulate a wood stove, and it's, and it's stepping on
I
toes.
don't know what the answer is, but the EPA also said the newer wood furnaces have 90% less particulates.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
they need to be at least a
Big
white
difference.
tag on the boiler for it to be approved, is what they're recommending.
Right. They need to have that on it before Miranda approves it as part of the building permit.
I know my son just put one in a year ago, so I don't think he went through any process. And
Probably
he's
most
not
people
here, he's
don't.
not in this township,
Yeah.
he's in the township, of Madrid.
The problem is all the new ones are compliant enough that they're fine. The old ones aren't, and the law wouldn't affect them. If they replaced it, then they would have to follow the regulations. So I think we'd be duplicating what's already out there.
You do, you feel that what's in place is sufficient.
I think so.
I
Because-
also think the town seemed to imply that they would be working on it in the future, so it sounds like it would be duplication of efforts
Right.
between planning and town.
We definitely don't want to duplicate what the town works.
And it may be something that comes forth in that comprehensive plan too, that,
You know, quite a while ago, I volunteered to be on the committee to do the rezoning. And I've heard
I don't
nothing-
think they've met.
I've heard nothing from that consultant.
I
And
met
that's- I bet it's been a
with,
year or more.
we met with, it was myself, Bob Washoe, Jim Smith came in late. I can't even think of her name, the consultant that's working with the village and the town. This was right at the beginning of COVID because we did it Zoom. I haven't heard anything from anybody since.
Yeah.
But then that includes
And that
that,
includes a lot of the stuff that we keep
Yeah, bring it up.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's all.
So there was a lot of work done prior to even me finally meeting her. The plan was for, at that point, via Zoom meeting, was for her to sit with the entire board and just brainstorm basically to hear everybody's ideas and thoughts and incorporate them in this comprehensive plan. From the comprehensive plan, then the code would get rebuilt.
Yeah.
So I have no idea where that
And the
is.
comprehensive plan has been done for a long time now.
I don't know if it's finished. The new one that they're working
Yeah,
on.
the new one, I thought it was done.
I don't,
You don't.
I haven't seen it if it is.
I thought it was posted on the town's website.
Did-
No,
We could look, I could look. I don't, not that I know of. I mean, they
What is
certainly
it you're
passed.
looking for?
Has a comprehensive plan been passed?
The major comprehensive plan, like that covered all the towns and the town and all the villages and stuff, or the code comprehensive stuff?
The one that they had hired the consultant out of, I think she was out of Rochester,
River Street Planning?
River Street, yeah.
That has not been completed yet. The town portion, last I heard, was being held up because there was the changes in the split with the code enforcement and stuff, so they had decided to hold off while they worked on the village. And the village, I believe, is close to being done. I can double check on that tomorrow. And then the town was going to follow suit as soon as everything was settled.
I think
Last I
so.
heard, that was Mary Ann told
Yeah,
me that.
some of the issues they were working on is trying to make the code similar. Like when you left the village, the code changed drastically in some cases. They were
Right.
trying to, I mean, the comprehensive plan was going to suggest that that got softened. And then it would have been our job to change the code to make that happen. So I think,
Yes.
yeah, that's where we are.
we just take a minute, and go around to introduce ourselves.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't. even
No, it's
realize
okay.
you were on.
I'm Nicole Hayes. I'm Nikki Hayes. I'm an alternate. I'm just an
Right.
alternate.
Just a minute.
Just an alternate.
We've seen her on screen,
Yeah.
sitting on her bed.
Yeah, exactly. Hiding from kids. I'm in real estate.
You're in
So,
real
yeah,
estate. Oh, very
Yeah,
good.
and we've built 3 houses.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I've got a lot of people that we've done seeker stuff through with different towns and stuff.
Oh,
So
good, so you know.
my husband's an engineer, so I pick him up and
Wonderful.
hear all his stuff too. So
Wonderful.
2 little kids.
I do have 2 little kids.
Jake and
Jake and Ron.
Yeah, okay. Well, I know you from when I worked with Corey.
Yep.
Farm, just to make the connection.
That's Ron.
I'm Betsy Hodge. I work at Cooperative Extension, I'm a livestock educator there. Interested in, of course, in solar grazing, if we can find people that want to do it.
What is solar grazing? I-
Grazing under the solar panels. But requires, instead of having mowing and, so some shepherds are, I know somebody with 600 sheep, lambs them like in February.
Mhm.
The lambs stay at the barn, the ewes go out to various solar sites for the summer. She trucks them
Really?
around, brings some water. But you gotta have the right fence and you gotta have some water. Well, you can take tanks of water, but most times companies will put a small well. I mean, it isn't a huge amount of water you need. And you need to have a company that's willing to work around maybe divider fences that you put up, like, temp fences like we use already in our pastures. And maybe guardian dogs if the fence, like, I just drove had to drive to Auburn and back yesterday, and that place just south of Philadelphia, or Indian River School, there's a fence, but there's a gap this big at the bottom, which that's like, the coyote can get through about this big of a gap, you don't want to put your sheep in there. Sheep would all be coming out of the fence. So, there's a few requirements, and usually you want to make those requirements before they put up the fence, so they do it right when they do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't have anybody, I have some people in Lewis County that are quite interested in doing it. You have somebody that's entrepreneurial and has the time to move the sheep around. And I see the sheep on the one just south of Governor.
Yeah.
Always like they're starving, but
Mhm.
need to stop there and talk to them about rotational grazing. But it has potential. And there's even people talking about grazing cows under them, putting them up higher.
That's cool.
I find that hard because cows rub on everything, scratch. Maybe on those panels would be like shaking, off kilter, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You two add some depth to this board. I'm glad you're both here. Yeah.
I'm Miranda Corbine. I'm the code enforcement officer for the town.
From school in Valley.
I did, yeah. I saw Haley the other day too.
Yay.
Welcome.
But thank
It's good to
you.
put a name and a face finally together, Miranda.
Yeah. So it's good to be back in Canton. I was a housing inspector in Boston for about 8 years. So
Oh, that's it.
a lot
Wow.
of things are the same and a lot of things are very different. So
Yeah. It's learning it all.
yeah, it's the hardest part is going from the urban area to the rural area.
Mhm.
You know, where I was over there, you're so much closer together that you have to, most work has to be done by a contractor and engineer. It's non-negotiable. And here it's fighting with everyone to get a plan from an architect or something like
We
that.
could draw on our little grid.
Yeah, or getting plans on napkins.
Yes, yes.
Like, oh, how about we put it on some paper and we write some dimensions
If it's under 1,000
down.
square feet, it doesn't need engineered plans.
That's
I'm 946 square feet on my addition. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
but overall, it's been very good.
I'm Siggy Barr. I don't know what else to tell you. I am an ex-school teacher and I currently am employed by Mrs. Snow and White's Flowers. And it's keeping me kind of going and whatever and stuff, but
You've been on this board.
oh, long time. Seriously.
I know,
I was
it's
trying to
before
figure
me.
out.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Do you have any idea, Mike?
You came on when
Way back, but
Jane
2000
Semple left, maybe.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I keep saying, do you want me still? And they go, yes, yes, and I'm like, okay.
I came on in 07 or 08.
Wow.
You were not too awful long behind me.
I think I had been ill and then I was really recovering, whatevering, and all of a sudden somebody said, would you like to try this? And I thought, yeah, good. It was definitely.
Been fun. We've had some good people.
Yeah. And I'm Deb Backus. I was on the CBA for, I don't know, 20 weeks.
And you were alone, yeah.
She came to the good side.
Then I came over here and CBA, hardly ever meets. Only when you have a variance come forward. It might be once every 3 months. And then I came here, we were meeting every month.
We were at the time, weren't we?
There's so much stuff. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, it is fun.
You're good at it.
So
You're good at it.
Oh,
thanks.
absolutely.
I try to come prepared. It's part of being. I used to teach at St. Ken's and I'm retired from St.
So when I retire, I might have more time to delve into it. I know
Yeah.
It's really tough.
It's
The
really- it's
stuff, but
hard.
I looked through it, but I don't really know enough yet to know what I'm.
That's a whole different language.
Well, plus you didn't have some of the data, like you didn't have the solar law that we have.
Right, I didn't have the background
Or
you guys
the,
have.
or the battery, solar battery law that we had. She only had the recommendations.
Yep.
So it might be helpful if Jenny sends out those policies.
Yeah.
If we're
Or
doing a
I'm sure they're
revision.
There and the.
I just go to the town of
Yeah,
Canton
the town of
website,
Canton
the
website.
government website, A lot of the
They do
documents
lots
are there. Yeah.
John Casserly. I've been coming for a while. to the
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
Just sit right over in the corner
And he
there.
was an alternate.
Came long enough, we brought him to the big
That
table.
was an alternate.
And now he's one of us. I know you put over there and I say, John, come.
Yeah, you're always nice to include me. I have to
He's like, no, I'm
compliment
gonna sit over here.
So, I'm sorry being late tonight. I had it in my mind it was 7 o'clock. I don't,
Well, the old time was 7, but I figure if we started at 6:30, if everybody can make it, we can get out on time.
I don't like to be late, so I apologize.
And John's retired.
Yeah, I was going to teach you on the keys, he knows. So I've been around. This is where the action is, the planning board.
That's where the fun is.
It is where the fun is.
It's interesting, yeah.
And what is the relationship to the town board?
We report to the town board.
Report to them or we make recommendations?
We only make recommendations. And if you, did you get one of these yet, town code book? Jenny? Jenny needs to get down.
Yeah, Jenny, we need 3, because
I never got one.
we need 4 code books.
Okay, I'm not even familiar with those, so I will check in with the town clerk though, and I'm sure I can get copies of whatever we need.
Probably
A nice 3-ring binder as
Yeah,
well.
we, when Ginger got SUNY Canton to do the last ones we got. Yeah, so Jenny, I think there's a drive or a file somewhere. I hate to keep pestering him, but Rusty knows where it is.
Okay.
I don't mind pestering him.
I
Yeah,
don't
please
either.
include me in.
I pestered her. You might even be able to print it from the what's on the website.
Okay, I'll see what I can do, and I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of everything, and we'll
Okay,
go
so
from
we
there.
just need 4.
Okay.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, and
And there's
Bill.
another alternate, right? Is
And
that
Bill's here with us.
Bill an alternate?
Yep. Please include me in that.
Absolutely.
So,
problem.
yeah, Bill and Nikki are the alternates, and Betsy is the full member. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they still, they still need them. So the process is that even though, well, we've only had an alternate once in my tenure. So even though the board of 5, if 5 are here and more are here, the board of 5 is the vote that counts, but I let everybody vote anyway, just so you voice your opinion, so we know what it is. And when,
Perspective is always good.
yeah, we've always, yeah. Because you're an alternate, you're here, you're putting your time together. We can increase the size of the board, but right now we're 5. But I think it's important that everybody has a voice. Yeah, we don't treat you as older as you have a voice. Don't be shy. If you have an opinion, state it. You're part of the discussion. You're part of the group. You're part of the board. We want you to take active part because someday you'll be thrown into a meeting when we don't have enough people when you get to vote.
We didn't have Bill introduce himself.
Thank you.
Bill?
Yes.
You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Bill Myers. I am a faculty member and director of the business department at SUNY Canton. And I'm an alternate, so I'm new to this.
Well, we were all new at it once.
So thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome.
Glad to
Welcome,
be here.
everybody. I was approached by the town supervisor at the time, Mr. Button, in 07. And he said, would you want to be on the planning board? And I said, like a hole in the head, but sure. And the town board was meeting that night. He called me the next day and he said, congratulations, you're on the board. And oh, by the way, you're the chair.
Really? You said that?
Yeah, by the way, you're the chair. I replaced Millie Whalen. I spent 40 years selling auto parts over in Potsdam, and I had a drastic change of career a year ago. I'm the fleet manager for Atlantic Testing here. Love this. Yeah, several times I wanted
Being
to.
a fleet manager.
Oh, I love that job.
You have what's called institutional knowledge.
But yeah, we go back because when I took over, there was 0 records. I mean, Millie kept nothing. There was nothing to go back and look at what happened the previous year. There was Brian Staples, Joe Kennedy, and myself on the board, and that was it. And then Brian was pretty much an no-show, so we quickly assembled a board. One of the Trios was on it initially.
Ex-fire chief, previous fire chief of Canton Fire
Yeah,
Department.
still the treasurer.
Still, I was gonna say, still in, right?
31 years there.
So there's a lot of depth right in this room now.
We typically find people who come to the meetings for one reason or another, and they get interested. With John, Joel Howie came for a specific issue, but he was very respectful. The dental, were you here when we did the dental smile care? You remember the smile care? So we needed a member, and Joel was a really good advocate for his own costs. So I called him up and said, "Hey, buddy, how'd you like to be on the planning board now?"
Remember what there was a comment, something about spot zoning or some
Yeah.
crazy thing. And I remember he actually emailed me and I said, what are you talking about? That was, whether there's all these undercore machinations.
Yeah,
that he was-
yeah.
I said, it doesn't work like that. We're pretty right up front. I mean, it's like, this is what we're thinking. And
But in the
then
end,
next thing I know, he's on the board. He was like, yeah, he was. He was very respectful, but very interested and.
But by coming to the board, him and Brian worked out the deal where they
Yeah.
put bushes and a berm,
Yep.
and they're happy neighbors now. Okay. Thank you all. I'll entertain a motion to dismiss. So move second. All in favor of that motion to dismiss? All right. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bill.
Hi, Miss Mary.